Good morning, WTU. Just a very quick update. I'm tired. So yeah, today you may have heard over the last few days that one of our community members, Antony Bevington, has had his court date for the charges of production of cannabis to prolong his life. I'm obviously doing everything I can in the background to help Tony, as he calls himself, as he's known by. I would ask everyone to share his case and raise as much awareness to the injustice that's occurring as possible. This man is no threat to society, and in fact the only threat he is the profits of the pharmaceutical cannabis industry, who no longer haven't got his custom because he's providing for himself. That's the only threat he presents to anybody. If anyone knew Tony, they'd completely agree with that. He's far from a criminal. He's a sick man who uses cannabis, like me and millions others, 1.4 million apparently, to improve their health with cannabis. Really everyone uses cannabis to improve their health at the end of the day, because they use it because it makes them feel better. So all use is medical in that respect, even if it is not for a specific medical condition. I suppose I'm feeling really broken and down in all this injustice, man. It's really getting me down. I can't believe that we're still having to fight the government on this matter. The whole world seems to be waking up to the fact that cannabis isn't actually a Schedule 1 harmful drug that was worthy of Class B sentencing, and is in fact a nutritious therapeutic herb that is mostly safe and benign, but for some reason, maybe because of their invested interests, our government won't budge. And poor people that can't afford private cannabis prescriptions remain prosecuted, whereas those that can basically afford to go private are protected from prosecution. So we now have this system in the UK where if you're wealthy enough you can avoid prosecution by paying for a private cannabis prescription, but if you're poor, like me and many others, all you can afford is some seeds and some soil. And with that you're able to provide for yourself quite sustainably without being any burden to the NHS or any threat or problem to anyone. So it really is an interesting situation. The most this man hasn't done is pay for a licence to cultivate cannabis for medical purposes, which the Home Secretary won't give him anyway, because they have discriminatory licensing practices that will only allow corporations to cultivate cannabis to sell for great profits. So at the minute they deny the common people of the land to sow the seeds of this nutritious and therapeutic herb for sustainability, for their own independence. So at the minute we aren't denied that right, and they claim because it's a dangerous herb. So unfortunately Tony's in I sit there and smile. Tony is in this god-awful position where they're now threatening to prosecute him for production of cannabis in a bid to take away his home, which just shows how inhumane and filthy and corrupt the CPS actually is, right? There's an 80-year-old man who's been cultivating cannabis to treat his terminal kidney disease, and they're trying to do him for production of cannabis because that brings a Proceeds of Crime Act where they can basically try and take his home, which then goes into the value of which goes into the pension pots of the police and all that involved, which is absolutely, they are financially incentivised to persecute people on the basis of a lie. Makes me flaming well angry. Makes me very angry. Very angry. The injustice. While Facebook advertised posts, feel free to invest in the pharmaceutical cannabis industry, minimum investment of £10,000. So again, wealthy can invest in the medical pharmaceutical cannabis industry, whilst poor people are denied the rights to either invest in, to access, or even to provide for themselves. It's the greatest injustice in the world, if you ask me. So, share. Tell everyone, write to the news, write to the police, write to the MP. Ask, how is this in the public interest? How is this man a threat to society? Why is he a threat to anybody apart from those with investments in the pharmaceutical cannabis industry? So now what I intend to do is to, because you may recall we started off with the firm Mackrell Turner Garett that Robert Jappy worked with. He then moved to Ince, so we followed to Ince with Robert, and then Mackrell Turner Garett have now transferred the case. So I'm now writing the crowd justice page because they can't transfer the page, it has to be rewritten for the new solicitor. So I'm now rewriting the crowd justice page because people were saying to me, let's get it launched. This is for the WTU campaign. I know I've spoken with Tony, Bevington, and he will be setting up a fundraiser of some sort, I believe. So please look for that, please support it, please sacrifice an eighth and put it in. It could be you next, it could be me next. I fucking wish it had been me. Fucking cunt. Sorry. Sorry about that. So on that basis, I get very, very angry. I intend to write the case. I've presented to Robert the bundle. He hasn't had opportunity to start reading it yet. I'm hoping to get an update off him later today. I also intend to collate the findings from the survey, and then also the testimony. So if you haven't yet added your voice, please add your voice into the www.wtuhq.org testimonials, and that's a place to add your voice about the effect cannabis and its prohibition has had on your life. So if you would please add your voice to this campaign, we would be most grateful for that. And then also I intend to include the data about how much a home grow contributes to the treasury. For example, when I chose, I haven't got 10 grand to invest in medical cannabis, so I invested £350 in my own grow kit, and that was my investment in the medical cannabis industry, my medical cannabis for me, right? And about £350, got a grow tent going up, all great. For the seeds, no problem. I pay my 20% VAT on everything, electric, newts, everything, right? So I'm actually a law-abiding citizen, apart from the fact that the government denied me the right to provide this for myself. And as someone's saying here, it's £260 for medical cannabis, and it's £30 to £40 for homegrown. And that's right, people are having to pay about £150 for a consultation fee. Then they're having to pay, I think I've heard the price, I think it's about £300 for an ounce of what most people have told me is substandard cannabis that's been sterilised, homogenised and all sorts of things, which I can understand why that needs to happen. But anyway, it seems to be that we have this situation here in the UK where if you're wealthy you can be healthy and get cannabis, but if you're poor you're going to be prosecuted if you provide for yourself, and that ultimately is what we're fighting. But the WTU has never been about medical cannabis, because it's always been about the human rights to autonomy of health, the freedom of consciousness, the right to private life, beliefs and practices, insofar as much our actions don't cause harm to another. There are fundamental rights that we wish to assert and that the government infringe. WTE really has got nothing to do with cannabis, it just happens to be focused on cannabis. Really, it's our freedom of consciousness we're fighting for, it's our autonomy of health, it's the self-determination of how we develop our personality, and it's also about private rights, beliefs and practices. So, you know, WTU just happens to be about cannabis, but it's not really, it's about the human rights that I've just mentioned before, and those human rights are infringed because they won't allow us to have cannabis, which is why we focus on the cannabis. But like I say, it's not really about cannabis, it's about human rights. So I'm going to get these things done now. I've got a couple of days off duty as such, so I'll do what I can. Unfortunately, I haven't got my assistant, so I'm going to have to just do it myself and just get as far as I can. So have a chat later with Robert. I'm hoping he's started to read what I've sent him. You know, it's a lot of pages, a lot of information, and he's also very busy. So someone says here, £250 for the ounce, then it's £150 for the consultation, then £60 admin, and 5 grams of cannabis is £60. When I can go out the door and spend 50, 60 quid, and I've got 7 grams of flour. Or, you know, you can just get some organic soil, stick it in your pot, stick it in a tent, stick a nice light over it and ventilate it. Within no time at all you're providing for yourself, completely self-sufficient. You don't need to go and fund the unlicensed market. So the moral, safe and ethical way is to provide for yourself, and also the actual act itself is empowering, it's therapeutic, it's phenomenal. So on that basis I'm going to go away now, stop yakking and get typing and rewriting the new fundraiser page, taking us on to the next stage in essence. Through this I will then donate from the merchandise funds into the Crowd Justice Fund, the required funds for the barrister fees. So at this point we'll already have what's needed to get rolling, and then it will just be building up ready for the next round. So on that note I'm going to go. Please share the group, please share the website, add your voice to the testimonial page, share Philip's plight, do everything you can to raise awareness of the gross injustice that is happening in the UK. We've got politicians invested in and profiting from medical cannabis, whilst the poor people on the ground being prosecuted for using cannabis for medical purposes. When, you know, where's the justice? And that is not even talking about it, the fact that it's safer than alcohol. So you're being denied the right to choose a safer recreational drug as well. So you're denied a safer health choice between pharmaceutical drugs and cannabis, and you just denied the choice between alcohol and cannabis. It's completely wrong. And I've just seen the nice guidelines. They intend to stop all pain relief for chronically people in chronic pain anyway. So, you know, it seems that if you're poor in this country, they want to take everything from us and leave us to suffer. But I'm a conspiracy nut. Anyway, lots of love. Keep doing what you're doing. Share, share, share. Speak soon. Finish.